The village community. There were three constituents of this community: the cultivators, the panchayat, and the village headman, mukaddam or mandal. Caste and the rural milieu uh, as menials or agricultural laborers, majur. So deep inequities on the basis of caste and other caste-like distinctions meant that the cultivators were a highly heterogeneous group. Among those who tilled the land, there was a sizable number who worked as menials or agricultural laborers, majur. In Muslim communities, menials like the halal khoran scavengers were housed outside the boundaries of the village. Similarly, the Mallahjadas, literally sons of boatmen in Bihar, were comparable to slaves. In a manual from 17th century Marwat, Rajputs are mentioned as peasants sharing the same space with Jats, who were accorded a lower status in the caste hierarchy. The Gauravas, who cultivated land around Vrindavan, Uttar Pradesh, sought Rajput status in the 17th century. Castes such as the Ahirs, Gujars, and Malis rose in the hierarchy because of the profitability of cattle rearing and horticulture. Like the Sadgops and Kaivartas acquired the status of peasants. In the eastern regions, intermediate pastoral and fishing caste like the Sadgops and Kaivartas acquired the status of peasants, panchayats, and headmen. The village panchayat was an assembly of elders, usually important people of the village with hereditary rights over their property, and menial come agricultural worker was unlikely to be represented there. The panchayat was headed by a headman known as Mukaddam or Mandal. The chief function of the headman was to supervise the preparation of village accounts, assisted by the accountant or patwari of the panchayat. Corrupt mandals. The mandals often misused their positions. They were principally accused of defrauding village accounts in connivance with the patwari and for under assessing the revenue they owed from their own lands in order to pass the additional burden on to the smaller cultivator. One important function of the panchayat was to ensure that caste boundaries among the various communities inhabiting the village were upheld, to oversee the conduct of the members of the village community, chiefly to prevent any offense against their caste, inflict more serious forms of punishment like expulsion from the community. In addition to the village panchayat, each caste or jati in the village had its own jati panchayat. In Rajasthan, jati panchayats arbitrated civil disputes between members of different castes. Complaining about extortionate taxation or the demand for unpaid labor begar imposed by the superior caste or officials of the state. So there is archival records from Western India, notably from Rajasthan and Maharashtra, of these type of complaints. In cases of excessive revenue demands, the panchayat often suggested compromise. Village artisans. Another interesting aspect of the village was the elaborate relationship of exchange between different producers. In Maharashtra, such lands became the artisans' miras or watan, their hereditary holding. Village artisans, potters, blacksmiths, carpenters, barbers, even goldsmiths provided specialized services in return for which they were compensated by villagers by a variety of means. By paying them a small daily allowance and diet money, this system later came to be described as the Jajmani system. So, for example, in the 18th century records tell us of Jamindars in Bengal who remunerated blacksmiths, carpenters, even goldsmiths for their work by paying them a small daily allowance and diet money instead of the in monetary terms. A little republic. How does one understand the significance of the village community? So, village are described here as a little republic with a question mark. So, more importantly, a caste nexus had already developed through trade between sorry between villages and towns. In the Mughal heartland, too, revenue was assessed and collected in cash. Artisans producing for the export market, for example, weavers, received their advances or wages in cash, as did producers of commercial products like cotton, silk, or indigo. So artisans like weavers are receiving in cash, and others are in a system called Jajmani. Both types of examples are there, and money in the village. The 17th century French traveler Jean Baptiste Tavernier found it remarkable that in India, a village must be very small indeed if it has not a money changer called a srof. They act as bankers to make remittances of money and who enhance the rupee as they please for paisa and the paisa for these cowrie cells. And